Hello, sassy girls, gays, theys, and everyone in between. My name is Madison, and welcome to Stay Sassy. Today, I'm showing you guys how I got this look right here, which is perfect for back to school season, or if you're going back to work, some people are. It's great for that too. I walk you through it step by step, and I also tell you what I keep in my makeup bag that I throw in my bag when I'm on the go to keep my makeup fresh throughout the entire day. I don't want to ramble on super long in this intro, but before we get into the video, make sure you're following Stay Sassy on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. A little iffy about Facebook, at Stay Sassy, or you can go check out StaySassie.com. Or if you want more makeup content, you can follow Sassy Maddie Makeup on TikTok and Instagram. And with that being said, let's jump into how I got this look. It's 11 a.m. Before it gets too late, I gotta take my meds. But how is everyone? It is hot, even though it's been raining. I've already done my skincare. I'll have the video linked down below of how to prep your skin for makeup. It's literally the same products. The Revolution Vitamin C Eye Cream and the Revolution Vitamin C Moisture Cream. I use these constantly. Ever since I discovered them a few months ago, I've been wearing them, but I'm just applying some Carmex. It's my favorite lip balm for during the day. And then I use Vaseline Lip Therapy, the cocoa butter one, at night. First things first, brows. I personally like to start with brows because I can like clean them up, fix them. So I'm gonna first go in with the e.l.f. Wow Brow. I'm gonna use the shade Taupe first. It's just a tinted brow gel that I like to apply. I like to apply brow gel beforehand, and using a tinted one, it's great because then you might not have to fill in your brows as much. But if you already have like full brows and everything, a tinted brow gel or a clear brow gel. Brow pencil. I've been loving the e.l.f. Ultra Precise brow pencil. I have mine in the shade Cool Brown. It's just a fine tip pencil, so I'm just gonna line the underneath, just so I have a basic idea of like where my brows are. And when I underline my brows, I like try to have like as straight of a face, so that, because I tend to go a lot and I don't want my brows up here. I want them as natural as possible. Now that I have the brows underlined, I guess that's what you could say, I'm just gonna fill them in to my desired style, just kind of more defining the top and filling them in, trying to keep them as natural as possible. But you can only be so natural when you do fill in your brows. As long as I have a good brow, I'm having a good day. And I try to like round out the edges in the front, because who wants a boxy brow? Not me. I also have very sensitive skin, so my skin gets red quite easily. That's all I'm going to do for the brows right now. After I do like my face makeup and everything, I can go and fix them up. Primer. This has been one of my newest favorite primers. It's the Milani Spf Bff. It has SPF in it, so it's not like, it's like a 2-in-1 product, because you got to be protecting your skin every day. Plus it primes the skin. I just take about this much, probably a little too much, and I'm just gonna prep my skin. Now this won't do anything for pore filling. It'll just help prep the skin so that your makeup doesn't look cakey. You also get that sun protection, and it says it extends the wear. Well, I let that set for a little while. I'm going to tell you about the tools that I use when it comes to foundation application. This is a newer technique for me. If you don't want to be this extra, you don't have to, but I am going to tell you the what I do and then an alternative so you don't have to be as extra. When it comes to foundation, I apply it with a brush first. This is the e.l.f. Complexion Duo brush. Love this because, like, if you need to, you can, like, blend out concealer under your eyes and it's perfect. I really like it. $8. And then to take away the brush strokes, because if you're going to use a brush, you're going to have brush strokes, I go in with a sponge. This is my favorite drugstore sponge that you can find at, like, any drugstore, the Real Techniques complexion sponge. And I like this one specifically because of this, because I like to use that side for powder foundation. A newer favorite that I didn't mention in my drugstore starter kit. Like, some of these I did, some of them I didn't. The L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. When I first tried this a few years ago, I didn't like it. And then I got a shade that actually matches me, and I've tried it because of TikTok. And I've fallen in love with it. I'm in the shade 405. And this is how you're going to make your makeup last and look the most natural for school. One pump on the back of my hand. I take some on my finger and I apply it all over. Then I take this sponge, not the sponge, this is a brush. Pick up the rest that's on the back of my hand, and then I just blend it in with the e.l.f. Complexion Duo brush. And see how it just, like, already perfects my skin. And I try not to go super close up to my under eye because I am going in with a concealer. I learned that trick off of TikTok, actually, to make your makeup look less cakey, because we are going in with concealer. You don't want to add excess buildup of product. We have our foundation applied with a brush. I'm going to go in with the Real Techniques sponge and just pounce right over to really press it into the skin, pick up any excess foundation, and take away the brush strokes. Just overall make it flawless. And I do have this sponge damp. I do have some blemishes and I want to add some extra coverage. That's where concealer comes in. Now, I'm going to be using 2. I would only recommend 1. I only use 2 because I like to brighten up my skin. This is a little too dark. This is too light. Mix the 2. It's great. But if I were only to recommend 1, I would go with the LA Girl Pro Conceal HD Concealer. Yes. And then I have the Wet n Wild MegaLast Incognito Full Coverage Concealer. I'm going to use this one because it is closer to my skin tone on these blemishes. And a little bit on, like, the sides of my nose, because I just have redness that doesn't go away. I'm just applying it anywhere where I want extra coverage. I mean, you could go in with, like, a second layer of foundation, but that'll just add more texture, more cakiness to your entire face. I just want to add coverage where I need it. And I do let that just sit for a little bit. Concealer is set for a while. I'm going to blend out my chin first. I'm only using a sponge because I don't want to take away any of that coverage, but I still want it to look smooth. Time for under the eyes. This is where I use both concealers. So first, the LA Girl. I use it more in, like, the inner corner and actually around my darkness. Then, just to lighten it up a little bit, going in with the Wet n Wild concealer. Just a little bit, not too much. And just to re-dampen my sponge a little bit, I'm going in with the Maybelline Lasting Fix Makeup Setting Spray. Just a little bit, because it's starting to get a little bit dry. Already look more awake. And then once I get caffeine in me fully, I'll be even more awake mentally. The base looking flawless. Time to set. I'm going in with the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Loose Setting Powder. Tap some into the cap. Now, this is where I'm extra again. Because I'm very expressive, I have fine lines under my eyes. and concealer creases there. So I take the e.l.f. Camo Concealer Sponge and my Real Technique sponge. I get some powder, not a whole lot, just a little, on the sponge, ready to go. We blend out any creases and set the concealer. And I only have a thin amount of concealer on the e.l.f. sponge. And then with the camo sponge, I also go down the sides of my nose and like in the crevices. Pretty much just any small spot where I crease. And then because it's like the perfect size, in between my brows and on my nose. Now I'm going to use the flat side of the sponge and just dip in to the powder, like squish off the excess, and powder my entire face. And I really powder where I'm going to apply bronzer and everything. And then to make sure that bronzer doesn't skip anywhere, I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. complexion brush, just like a powder brush. And I get like the tiniest bit, and I just swirl it on so that I know that the foundation won't move underneath when I do apply bronzer in this sort of motion. I'm going to set that powder aside because we are going to use it in a minute. Let's go into finishing the rest of the complexion. Bring some life back into this face because right now it's just flat with brows. Bronzer. I'm going in with the Maybelline City Bronzer. I have mine in the shade 200. I love this bronzer. And I'm using an e.l.f. highlighting brush. I love this shape for my face for bronzing. And I just apply it right on like the cheekbones, but more back and along like my hairline, on my forehead. Then I connect it down. This is what I like for my face shape, along the jawline. I also go on the ears and I bring it down so that it's not like darker here, not down here. And then just a little bit over my nose. Blush. I don't really have like a drugstore blush brush that I love. So I'm using this Luxie 1010 brush with the e.l.f. Primer Infused Blush. I have mine in the shade Always Rosy. I love this because like it has primer in it, so it'll stay longer than a normal blush. I also apply it over my nose for like a sunburn type of look. I like it. You don't have to do it. Highlight. I do have like a drugstore highlighting brush that I like, but I'm not like in love with it. So I'm using my Morphe M501 brush. Used this for years. For highlight, for days that I want to add highlight, I'm going in with the Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighting powder in the shade Blossom Glow. Like, look at that. They have a bunch of shades in this formula, so if you have a different skin tone or you like a different undertone, I'm just gonna pick up some on the tip of my brush. I like a blinding highlight setting spray. I love highlights so much. Then whatever left over on the brush, I go above my brow and on my chin and down my nose, Cupid's bow. This is where I get extra, and I take a Be a Small brush, the brush kits that you get from Amazon, like a fatter dome brush, and I pick some up and I spray. I go tip of my nose, blend it out with my finger, and down the bridge. Kind of like making an exclamation point. Some days I'll just go like this. We want to lock it in because we're at school for how many hours in a day? This is probably the makeup I'll be wearing, or maybe even less. I don't know. on a daily basis, and like I'm gone for 12 plus hours. Maybelline Lasting Fix Makeup Setting Spray. Shake. This is a great dupe for the Urban Decay All-Nighter Setting Spray. Not only will this help make your makeup last, but it'll melt down the powders, and I'm going to go in with my sponge and just lightly tap over to really melt those powders in. And then I'm going to do one more spray. This is the spray that'll lock the makeup in. Go in with like my handy fan and just dry it all down. Let's go in with our eyes. If you don't want to do eyeshadow, that's totally up to you. If you don't want to buy the palette that I'm going to use, you don't have to. I did a poll on my Instagram, StaySassie Makeup, that Instagram, to see if you wanted an eye look with an eyeshadow palette or with face products. And it was literally 50-50. So I'm going to do it with the eyeshadow palette, but I'll tell you like how you can just use your face products if you don't want to buy an eyeshadow palette. We gotta first prime our eyes. If you don't want to buy an eyeshadow primer, use your concealer. But primer works better for me. I'm going with the Profusion No Budge eyeshadow primer. And I'm just going to apply a little bit. I'm going to blend it out with my finger. And then you can either go in with your sponge, or I'm going to go in with a MOTD brush. And I'm going to set that with the Wet n Wild powder. You don't necessarily need to set your eyeshadow primer. I prefer it. One, I have oilier eyelids and hooded lids, so I can crease. And when I just go straight in with eyeshadow, it tends to skip. That's why I set it. Eyes are primed and set. Let's zoom you in. The eyeshadow palette that I'm using today is the Profusion Bare 10 shade palette. It's literally $5 and I love it. I'll have the brush set linked down below that I'm using, because like it's about as cheap as one you could get at the drugstore. This is going to be like a super simple look. I'm going in with this like fluffy brush in the shade Fine right here, and that's going to be our transition shade. So I'm just going in windshield wiper motions in the crease, and I go a little bit higher than the crease because again, I have hooded lids. I want you to see it when I open my eyes. This is where you could add the bronzer into the crease. Because I am going in with a darker shade, I'm going to go in with a smaller crease brush into the shade Recital. You could use this Wet n Wild crease brush with your blush, or you could use this brush. But this is going lower in the crease, but still so where you can see it. I'm going to go back in the shade Fine, the first shade on the first brush, and blend that upward. And this eye look will work with like anything that you're wearing. I'm wearing yellow today. I got this jumpsuit from Hollister. I don't think it's available anymore. I love Hollister jumpsuits and jumpsuits in general, but like the ones that I'm finding that I really like are from Hollister. I'm gonna go in with an e.l.f. eyeshadow brush, and I'm gonna just mix these two shades that we've applied to the crease, top off the excess, and just smudge that on my lower lash line. It's kind of turned a little smoky, but like, I'm not mad. I'm actually going to add a shimmer today. You could leave it like this. You could add a shimmer. Literally, you have 10 shades to play with, and they're all neutral, so they'll go with like anything. I'm going to apply the shade Compelling to my lid on this flat shader brush from the brush kit that we've been using. And if you're just using your face products, you could use your highlight on your lid. For the lower lash line, mix your bronzer and blush. Use one or the other. And I want to spray it because I want it intense. You could use your setting spray, water, eye drops, and I'm gonna just pat that and this is for like a glam school day. We're gonna highlight the inner corner and brow bone with the shade Polite on this e.l.f. smudge brush. I'm just gonna apply it. It's like a matte shimmer. I am gonna spray it just to see what'll happen. And if I want, I'm more of a dramatic look, I might go in with my highlight. But I think for the brow bone, this is gonna be great. And I am gonna go in with the Wet n Wild highlighter on that brush. Sprayed because I want like a bright inner corner. All for the eyes. Mascara. I tend to have a problem when it comes to like my mascara smudging mostly on my upper lashes, so primer. This is the combo I'm using today just because that's what I chose. I don't know. But I'm using the L'Oreal Voluminous Primer as well as the L'Oreal Voluminous Original Mascara. I am going to curl my lashes, however, this is just like an e.l.f. lash curler. I just don't have money to find a good one right now. If you want to see 31 Days of Halloween, go look at Sassy Man and Makeup TikTok and Instagram, and I will be posting some videos on here too. Primer first on my upper lashes. This will also like double as like your first layer of mascara. L'Oreal Voluminous Original. And a little on the lower lashes. It's okay. This may happen. You let it dry. Let it dry. It's hard for me, but we're gonna let it dry. Zoomed you out so we can do the lips. Finish this up. I personally don't want to wear full-on lipstick, at least right now, because COVID, masks. My school, I still wear masks, and why get lipstick on your mask? For me, I'm just going to do basic. Some days I'll just apply lip balm. I have it in like every bag. I'm constantly losing it, so I buy more. Always have lip balm around me, especially as we go into like the fall and winter. Our lips can get chapped. I don't know why I just applied some. If you are going to school and you don't have to wear a mask, this is what I would recommend, because you don't want to be having to worry about, is there lipstick on my teeth? Is there lipstick all over my face? Does it still look good? So this is what I recommend. I'm going in with the Maybelline Color Sensational Shaping Lip Liner in the shade Dusty Rose. Just something that's closest to your actual lip color. I'm just going to line my lips, just lining how I normally do and filling it in ever so slightly, just to make this process a little easier. Lips lined and filled in a little bit. I'm going in with my lip balm and just, it looks like you try harder than you actually did. And you just like rub your lips together to blend it. And then just to make sure you don't get it on your teeth, take your finger. I'm going to do my hair and finish letting this dry. Once I have my hair done, then I'll show you how I will take this off. I'll be back. Okay. Hair is all done. Two things that I want to finish up. The brow. I'm going to go in with a different shade of the e.l.f. Wow Brow, but you could just go in with the same shade. I'm just going in with the darker one. With brows. Got them good to go. Now to take this off. I'm going to take a Q-tip. Dry Q-tip. And I'm just going to like rub it off almost, but I'm also going to take a spoolie. I'm just going to use to like help flake it off. You can see, kind of have a little hole. We're going to fix that. I'm going to take the LA Girl concealer. I'm not going to squeeze any more out. Just apply a little, tiny bit. We're going to let that sit for a little bit. Sponge. Gonna tap that out. We're gonna go in with our powder. Just gonna use the brush that we used to set our eyes. and powder it. Taking the brush that we used for bronzer and going over it. No extra product. Blush brush, no extra product. And take the brush that we used to highlight our nose and could add extra product if you want. I didn't. Zoomed you guys out a little bit so that we can do this outro. Some tips that I would recommend if you are going to school or to work. This would be great for work too. Take your sponge with you. If you need to, you can re-dampen it. But for those times where like you get a little creasy, a little sweaty, because doing my hair, it's a little sweaty. Use it to like blend things out and have a few products on hand in a makeup bag that you can take with you and a few brushes. This is just what's in mine. I have a little mini setting spray. I have a brow pencil just in case. I have a mascara. I have a clear brow gel, a concealer, and a powder, and I have 2 brushes. I have a separate e.l.f. complexion duo brush and a separate e.l.f. highlighting brush. I also like this brush for like when you need to touch up with powder, because you don't need to touch up your entire face with powder, just like specific spots, and this is a great brush for it. This is also like a, oh shoot, I forgot to apply makeup, but I want to look presentable. That's what I have this for. That's my version of a back to school makeup tutorial, or going back to work, because some offices, they're finally going back in and maybe you want to look presentable. And some things that you can keep in your makeup bag to touch up throughout the day so that your makeup looks as fresh as possible. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe to my channel or give it a thumbs up, or both. If you guys aren't following me, first of all, why? Second of all, you can follow StaySassie on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Still iffy about Facebook. And you can also go check out my blog, StaySassie.com. You can also follow for more makeup content, Sassy Baddie Makeup, on TikTok and Instagram. I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.